Welcome, everybody, to this deep dive, and today we're looking at the Invocation of Presence. We've got excerpts from the text itself and, some visuals, diagrams, that kind of thing, all to help us figure out how to cultivate a heightened state of awareness.
It's about learning to really experience the world around us, more fully, more vividly, almost as if we were seeing everything for the first time.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Because who hasn't felt stuck in a rut, just going through the motions, right? I mean, I know I have.
And the text, it really jumps right into that problem. It describes this feeling of being almost trapped in ordinary life, just struggling to survive without really, living.
Yeah.
It's like we're so focused on the future, on what's coming next, that I think we end up missing the richness of what's right here, right now.
It's true. We get caught up in these routines and live on autopilot. But what I find fascinating is, the text claims that there's a more profound reality we can access, even in our everyday lives, right?
It uses this interesting term, non-phenomenal reality. Essentially, it's describing a deeper level of consciousness, a way of perceiving that goes beyond just the surface.
Okay, now you got my attention. Can you give me an example of what that might look like?
Sure. The text opens with this story about a man. They call him G. He's just driving, right? But then all of a sudden, he has this really intense shift in awareness. He becomes completely present in that moment, acutely aware of himself and everything around him in a way he just hadn't been before.
I think I've had moments like that where time seems to almost stop and I get completely absorbed in the present. Sometimes it happens when I'm listening to music that really moves me. Have you ever felt that?
Absolutely. It's as if you're suddenly tapping into this it's like a hidden dimension of experience.
Yeah.
The text also talks about how specific scents or sounds or images can trigger these really vivid memories, almost like, transporting us back to that time and place.
Yes. It's amazing how just a simple smell can suddenly bring back like a whole wave of memories and emotions. So it seems like we can experience these glimpses of presence almost accidentally sometimes. But the question is, how do we cultivate it, intentionally?
That's where the text really emphasizes this concept of work, like a deliberate practice of using every moment for inner transformation, not just working towards external goals, but really working on ourselves, evolving internally.
Okay, I see. So it's not just about outer achievements, but about actively working on ourselves, evolving internally.
Exactly. The text actually includes a visual diagram comparing ordinary man with what it calls conscious man. Ordinary man is just a dot, right? Just this single point representing really limited awareness. But conscious man is this interconnected triangle.
I'm always a fan of a good visual. So what does the triangle represent?
Well, each point of the triangle represents a different facet of expanded awareness. Here, I, and now.
Interesting. So it's like presence is about connecting those elements, the present moment, our sense of self, and our surroundings. But why is this idea of being present so important? Like, what's the real benefit?
The text suggests that presence is not just about passively existing in the moment. It's about actively invoking it.
So we can actually train ourselves to become more present.
Yeah, and the text outlines this interesting technique of dividing our attention. It's like having one hand on the outer world, what we experience through our senses.
Yeah.
And the other hand on the inner world of our thoughts and emotions.
Oh, I like that image. Like having one hand on the outside world and one hand on the inside world, paying attention to both. But let's be real. Staying present is, it's not always easy. There are distractions everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. And the text actually acknowledges that challenge. It uses this analogy of a monkey tied to his nature to illustrate how easily our habits and desires can pull us away from presence.
So we're all just monkeys swinging from one distraction to another. I guess that's pretty relatable.
I think so. But, how do we tame that monkey mind?
Yeah, how do we tame that monkey mind?
Well, the text suggests a few things. One is to just practice focusing our attention, even if it's just for short intervals, right? Just on a specific object or sensation. Another one is using breathing exercises to calm the mind and bring us back to the present.
Okay, those sound pretty practical. Are there any other techniques?
Yeah, there's this interesting one. They call them remembering factors. Basically, these are specific objects, images, or phrases that we can use to kind of trigger that invitation of presence.
So it's like a mental post-it note, right? Reminding us to be present. Okay, we've talked about techniques, but what about the obstacles? What are some of the challenges we might encounter, on this path?
One intriguing idea the text brings up is this second wind phenomenon.
Wait a minute, isn't that a physical thing? Like when runners hit the wall, but then they get a sudden burst of energy?
Right. But the text is using this metaphorically. It's describing a breakthrough in consciousness, a moment when we kind of push past our limits and experience this, this heightened state of awareness.
So it's like fitting a wall in our practice, feeling like we want to give up, and then bam, second wind kicks in, and suddenly we break through to this new level of presence.
Exactly. And the text suggests that experiencing the second wind is essential for real progress.
This is really fascinating. We've talked about the importance of presence, and some techniques to cultivate it, and even the challenges. But I'm wondering about the role of emotions. Where do they fit into all of this?
That's where the text really takes a unique turn. It makes this distinction between what it calls true emotions, which have no physical sensations.
Wait, emotions without physical sensations. I'm not sure I can even wrap my head around that.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept that, the text kind of leaves open for us to explore. But it mainly focuses on what we usually call, negative emotions, like anger, fear, jealousy. These things often show up as physical sensations in our bodies.
Right. Those emotions we usually try to avoid.
Yeah, but here's the interesting part. The text actually suggests that these very emotions can be, they can be harnessed, used as fuel for the work of presence.
Whoa, that's a powerful idea. Like turning negative energy into something positive.
Precisely. The text even introduces this idea of serious confession.
Confession. Is this getting religious?
Not really. It's about honestly acknowledging those recurring negative habits, the patterns that pull us away from presence.
Oh, I see. So it's like that monkey analogy again. We have to see those tendencies clearly first, if we actually want to change them.
Exactly. It's similar to idea like mindfulness or self-compassion, observing our thoughts and feelings without judgment.
This is making me think about all those little itches I experience, those moments of frustration or just dissatisfaction that I usually brush aside. What if those are actually signs of a deeper longing for presence?
That's a great question, and it leads us perfectly to this final idea we'll discuss, the 3 levels of work that are hinted at in the text.
3 levels. Okay, now I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
The text gets a little esoteric here, but it suggests there's this deeper hidden dimension to this work of presence. It compares it to an unconscious itch that we need to bring into conscious awareness.
So it's like we're just scratching the surface, but the real source of the itch is much deeper.
That's a great way to put it. And the text implies that there are specific techniques and practices for each of these levels, but the details are, let's just say they're left for us to explore further.
Okay, now I'm officially hooked. We've got the problem of feeling stuck in ordinary life. We've got these glimpses of presence that we can experience, the concept of work. We've got techniques and challenges, and even this idea of using emotions to fuel the work. And now we've got these mysterious 3 levels of work. I'm ready to dive into those 3 levels. Those 3 levels, they definitely, they sparked my curiosity. But I have to admit, the text was a little vague on those details. Can you maybe shed some light on what each level entails?
It's true. It keeps things pretty mysterious, almost like it's pointing towards something, like a deeper knowledge that's hard to put into words.
Yeah.
But I think we can still get some insight, right? The first level seems to be focused on mastering those basic techniques for cultivating presence, consciously dividing our attention, fixing our focus, and even using those remembering factors.
Right. So the first level is like building a solid foundation, getting comfortable with those tools.
Exactly. But what about those deeper, those itches we were talking about, those underlying desires that keep pulling us away from presence? It seems like the second and third levels are where we really address those.
So it's not just about being present in a moment, but about understanding those deeper mechanisms of our consciousness. Those forces that shape our thoughts and our emotions.
You got it. And this is where it gets really interesting. The text emphasizes the need for, it talks about the importance of a work community for navigating these deeper levels.
So we need a group, like-minded people to support us.
It seems that way. The text really highlights the value of shared practices, like having guidance from people who've already done the work and just creating that supportive environment.
That makes sense. You can encourage each other, learn from each other's experiences, navigate those challenges together. The text also mentioned something about, it said that we're running out of time. What did you make of that?
I think while it could be taken literally, right, as in our lifespan is limited,
yeah.
I think it's pointing to something a little deeper. Like there's an urgency to seize this opportunity for transformation while we have it.
So the longer we wait, the harder it is to break free.
Exactly. It even suggests that if we don't actively engage in this work, we risk being swept away by forces beyond our control.
Wow. It's like we're at a crossroads, right?
Yeah,
We can either stay on autopilot or we can choose to take control.
I like that. It's a call to action, an invitation to become active participants in our own growth. But here's the good news. The text doesn't make this journey sound like some somber, arduous task. It actually, it emphasizes that moments of joy, even humor, can be found along the way.
That's good to hear. I was starting to feel the weight of all this serious work. Can you give an example of where humor might come in?
There's this passage where G is talking about, he talks about developing a sense of imminent failure.
Imminent failure. That doesn't sound very funny.
Right. But it's not meant to be taken literally. It's about cultivating humility, recognizing that, we're not always in control. Life is full of surprises.
So it's about embracing the absurdity of it all, not taking ourselves too seriously.
Exactly. Finding humor in those imperfections, it can be incredibly freeing, even amidst the serious work, right? There's always room for laughter.
I like that. So we've got this blend of serious work, community support, a sense of urgency, and I think some humor. All of it aimed at cultivating presence, right? Accessing that deeper reality. The text also mentions something called it calls it the unveiled vision of the patchwork quilt. What did you make of that image?
That's one of the more compelling metaphors in the text. It seems to represent this shift in perception, like seeing the interconnectedness of everything.
Like zooming out to see the bigger picture, understanding how everything fits together.
Exactly. And the text suggests that this unveiled vision comes with this really profound sense of peace, and understanding.
It sounds almost like achieving a state of enlightenment.
I mean, it doesn't use that word specifically, but it definitely hints at the possibility of, reaching a higher level of consciousness through this work.
All of this sounds incredible, but honestly, part of me is also feeling a little overwhelmed. Is this level of presence even attainable? For us ordinary folks, we're not meditating monks living in a cave.
It's a very valid concern, and actually, the text addresses that directly. It says that this isn't about achieving some, superhuman state of perfection. It's a gradual awakening.
So it's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. And even small steps can yield big results.
Okay, that's encouraging. So small steps, consistent effort, and we can gradually transform our experience. But where do we even begin? Are there any practical starting points you can share?
The text actually suggests a few. One that really stood out to me was, it calls it the Turkish coffee ritual.
Wait, Turkish coffee? Like the strong, delicious kind?
That's the one. But it's not really about the coffee itself. It's more about the ritual, preparing and drinking it with focused attention.
Oh, I see. So it's about taking something ordinary, like making coffee, and turning it into a mindfulness practice.
Exactly. And the text encourages us to find those rituals in our own lives. Everyday activities that we can infuse with intention and awareness.
No, that's great. Instead of just scrolling on my phone while I eat breakfast, I could savor each bite, really pay attention.
That's it. It's bringing that same quality of attention to everything, even the mundane stuff.
Okay, so we've got those techniques, but how does it all come together? Is there a specific order we should follow? Or
the text doesn't really give a rigid formula, but it offers it offers a framework, a step-by-step method for invoking presence.
Okay, I'm ready to break down those steps. What's the first one?
Well, the first step involves establishing a really firm intention to bring our attention to the present moment.
So it starts with a conscious choice, like a decision to be here now.
Yes, and this is where things get, a bit more esoteric.
Ooh, I love a good mystery.
All right, well, the second step is described as feeding substance to this, which seems to refer to our non-physical self, the part of us that exists beyond our body and mind.
Whoa. Okay, that's deep. How do we feed something that's non-physical?
The text suggests using our intention, to direct energy towards that aspect of ourselves.
So it's like a sort of energetic nourishment, providing sustenance to our deeper self.
I think that's a good way to put it. And then the third step involves consciously observing the sensations, the reverberations that happen within us.
Let me make sure I'm following. So we set the intention to be present. We feed our non-physical self with energy, and then we just pay close attention to what happens inside.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. It's a process of inner exploration.
It sounds a lot like meditation.
There are some parallels there, but the text emphasizes that this practice can be done anywhere, anytime, not just during those formal sessions.
Oh, that's good to know. So we can invoke presence while we're, Doing the dishes, commuting to work, even waiting in line at the store.
Exactly. Every moment can be an opportunity.
I think I'm starting to get this framework. Intention, energetic nourishment, and observation. But is there more to it?
Well, the text acknowledges that there are a lot of techniques, a lot of approaches, and, what works for one person might not work for another.
So it's about finding what resonates with us, experimenting, adapting the practices.
Exactly. The text encourages us to be creative, explore different methods, discover what really helps us access that heightened awareness.
That's empowering. It means we're not limited to one specific path.
And it suggests that the process of discovery is, it's an ongoing adventure. It unfolds over time.
Okay, so we've got those basic steps, the encouragement to experiment, and the reminder that this is a journey. Are there any tips, anything that might help us along the way?
The text offers a bunch. One that I found particularly interesting was the importance of finding a reliable this.
A reliable this. What does that even mean?
It seems to refer to finding a specific point of focus, something that really helps us connect with that deeper level of presence.
Oh, okay. Like a mental anchor that keeps us grounded in the present moment.
Exactly. And the text suggests that it could be anything, really. A physical object, a mental image, a phrase, even a feeling. The key is to find something that works for you. Something that helps you drop into that state of awareness.
That makes sense. And, we talked about using negative emotions as fuel for the work, but how do we actually do that? It's not like we can just flip a switch, right?
Right. It's definitely a process. The text suggests that it starts with just noticing those emotions when they arise, paying attention to how they manifest in our bodies.
So instead of pushing them away or ignoring them, we actually, we lean in and observe them with curiosity.
Exactly. By approaching them with this sense of non-judgmental awareness, we can start to understand them.
It's like we become scientists of our own emotions, studying them under a microscope.
I like that. And once we understand them, we can start to harness that energy.
So instead of letting our anger control us, we can use it to propel ourselves toward presence.
You got it. And the text even gives an example.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It describes a scenario where someone is feeling really irritated by a noisy neighbor.
Oh, yeah. I can relate to that. My upstairs neighbor, it sounds like they're, herding elephants up there.
Right. But instead of getting caught up in that irritation, the text suggests using that energy, that negative energy, to fuel your practice. Shift your attention away from that external source, toward your internal experience.
So instead of yelling at my neighbor, I could take a few deep breaths and focus on those sensations.
Exactly. You're redirecting that energy.
This is making a lot of sense. Are there any other helpful tips?
Yeah. The text really emphasizes the importance of patience. It reminds us that cultivating presence is gradual. And, there will be moments of progress, but there will also be setbacks.
That's good to hear because I have a feeling this is going to be a challenging journey.
It probably will be, but even those small moments of presence can have a really big impact.
So we don't have to achieve this, like this perfect state of constant presence to see the benefits.
Not at all. Every step we take is a victory.
This is incredibly inspiring, challenging, but also full of potential.
I think that's the beauty of it. It's an invitation to really step into our full potential, to experience life in a whole new way.
I love that. We've explored those 3 levels, the need for community, the role of emotions, and some specific techniques, and, that reminder to be patient. Where do we go from here? What's the next step on this path toward presence? We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, all these different facets of cultivating presence.
It has been quite a journey. From those accidental moments of presence we get through memories or, even just sensory experiences to that really deliberate work of invoking presence, using specific techniques and all that.
And we even went into those more, those more profound aspects of the text, like, that concept of the 3 levels of work and the need for community support in all this.
Yeah, we even talked about harnessing the energy of those so-called negative emotions.
Right, those pesky feelings that we can actually use to fuel our practice.
Yes,
like alchemy, turning those base metals like frustration and anger into something like the gold of presence. So if we had to, boil down this whole invocation of presence into one key takeaway, what would it be?
I think it would be this: the power to live a richer, more meaningful life is already inside us. It's right there, hidden in plain sight, in those moments that we often, just overlook.
It's like we're surrounded by this treasure trove of presence. But we need to develop those tools, that awareness, to actually recognize it.
Precisely. And the text reminds us that this isn't about, reaching some distant destination or anything like that.
Right.
It's about this, this continuous journey, this journey of self-discovery.
It's about waking up, right? Waking up to the richness of every moment.
And it all starts with a single, intentional breath taken right here, right now.
What a beautiful thought. So, for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to cultivate more presence in their own lives, what would you recommend as a first step?
Just start noticing. Notice those moments throughout your day when you feel a sense of presence. Maybe it's when you're out in nature, or you're listening to music, or having maybe a deep conversation with someone you care about. Just pay attention to what those moments feel like. And then you can see if you can consciously create more of those moments, maybe using some of those techniques we discussed.
That's great advice. It's about starting where we are and gradually building from there. It's been really amazing exploring this with you. Thank you for sharing your insights.
The pleasure was all mine. This was a great conversation.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and inspiration for cultivating more presence in your own lives. And remember, even the smallest steps can lead to huge transformation. So until next time, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.